Hello, this is Mike Harber, and this is CrashTalk. And a follow-up, this is the sequel. I think I remembered. But first, let me give you a disclaimer. I'm not an attorney. I'm not giving you legal advice. If you need legal advice, you need to seek that of a practicing attorney in your area. We can help you find one. We were talking last week about diminished value. We were talking about, all the stuff that goes on. I forgot to tell you that the very, very, very first case in the state of Washington was back in the 1900s, early 1900s. Very interesting case, Supreme Court decision about diminished value. And it had to do with a horse-drawn milk wagon where somebody damaged the horse, and the owner of the business, his business was affected, and he couldn't use the animal anymore. And so it didn't lose the animal, wasn't put down, but there was a diminished value claim on that. And that was the very first case, kind of interesting. I think one of my other guests said the very first one he's aware of is in the 1800s, had to do with a ship. So I wanted to say that, and then I thought, what would be a really good idea? Because I said, I got out of court today. This is like, well, wait a second. Why don't we talk to one of our clients? Why don't we hear from her what happened? She did a couple things wrong. She did a lot of stuff right. The biggest thing she did right is she didn't let the playground bully get over on her. She stood up for herself, and she just didn't give up. And so, interesting day we've had. And so like that, let's hear from Nancy, and let's hear how her day went and how this period of time worked out. I think it's interesting to hear it from a consumer that started out, like I said last week, never heard of this before, never been in a situation like this. And what do you do? How do you do it if you don't have somebody trying to help guide you along the way? And so I think she'll be able to explain what we did and how we did differently. And so let's hear from you. Well, Nancy, thank you for just giving me a few minutes of your time. It seems like we've actually been together here doing stuff here for a little bit of time. We just got out of court today.
Yeah,
It's kind of been a long, drawn out process. And I think that's part of the design, so that people just give up and go away. And you hung in there. And so my congratulations to you, because so many consumers don't, because it's frustrating. It's intimidating. But you were a trooper, and I've already told you that. You did great in front of the judge. I mean, you sounded like a pro. But some of the things I think for listeners, people that are tuning in to learn from a little bit of what your experience was, and I guess first off, that would be the first thing, is don't give up, right?
well, luckily I have the time to continue working on this. And so I feel like somebody needs to give some of these insurance companies a little bit of niggling, because it's not right what they're being allowed to do to the little people, who really don't have a voice. And that's why I'm sticking to it. It's unfortunate that people who have a lot of justification don't get their the claim settled in their favor because of the delays and delay tactics that they use.
Sure. Well, let me just take a couple minutes and just kind of explain a little bit what happened, because you had an accident, somebody else hit you, it wasn't your fault. You ended up using the at-fault party's insurance company. And did the first thing they tried to do is they tried to get you to go to one of their shops?
That is correct.
And you were smart enough to know better than to do that, right?
Yes. Well, I was kind of dubious, because I thought, they said they guaranteed me satisfactory repair if I used they're contracted auto shops. And so essentially I did go ahead and schedule an appointment because I thought, why aren't they trying to get an estimate on my car as soon as possible? Because I don't know what could happen between now and whatever time. And so that's what I did. But then at that time, I was also going to my auto dealer where I got my car, and they
And
suggested,
it was a brand new car to you too, wasn't it?
yes, it was a month, less than a month old when I got the damage, and didn't even have his plates on. And so I was going to the dealer shop to get the plates, and I showed them what happened, and they said, you should probably use a BMW certified um, auto shop. And they've made a recommendation, and I took my car there right away.
Yeah, well, and that's if you're satisfied with the service you receive from the shop, that's okay to even mention their name, because I think people need to know which shops are out there working for the consumers and which ones aren't.
So do you want me to tell you their name?
No, yeah, who was it?
It was Metro Auto Rebuild in South Seattle.
Oh, great. Okay. And so, and during the process of this repair now, and again, because we've discussed a lot of this since way back then, the insurance company for the at fault party, they wanted to put junkyard parts on your newer BMW. And the body shop, because they weren't just doing whatever the insurance company said, they advised you that that was not the best thing in your interest.
That is correct. Um, I was when I was there was delay in getting certain estimate confirmed from both sides, um, because my initial estimate was from the Geico, and I took it to one of their auto shops just for an estimate,
Mhm.
not for any work. And so
Mhm.
they had to schedule me another appointment time to do that. And that was going to be the estimate of record. And at that time, it was made out for about $2,200, I think. But even then, the claims adjuster said this may change depending upon what the auto shop finds inside the door. And so she had already notified me that that could be a possibility. And so right after that, I took the car to Metro for an initial estimate. And he looked at the estimate provided by Geico, and said that they would be working on this. They have to go with their estimate first, and then ask for supplements. And so they couldn't do that work to do the estimate until they got my car in.
Mhm.
And so I scheduled my appointment for the 24th of February. My accident was on the 4th of February. And so then there was a lot of delays and going back and forth because Geico, they accepted the fact that what Metro Auto Shop said was, we need to replace your front door, the right passenger door. And so there was agreement on that. But then what Geico was proposing was not using a new door shell for the right passenger side, but getting a junkyard door. And in fact, they said they had trouble locating a junkyard door that would be suitable for my car. In fact, my car is a 2017, but they found a part in Nevada on a 2014 vehicle that
Oh,
had been involved in a rollover accident, and told Metro to, oh, you just need to put a little paint on it and do this business for like a 2-hour repair and install and use that.
you
And
know, what was that's interesting too, and I think that's worth noting, because under in the law, it's replacement and restored to what's called a pre-loss condition. And the reason there's diminished value on a vehicle is that nobody can do what they did in the factory, and they can get as close as possible. But when you start talking about these parts, and especially a junkyard part, and it's coming out of Nevada, it's going to be shipped all the way up here, and you just said it's a 2014 vehicle. Well,
right.
you've got a 2017 vehicle. So that's not even considered like, kind, and quality when you've got a difference, that much of a difference in years.
I agree. And so when Metro was showing me the door and the accident that it was may have been involved in, he confirmed that he didn't know exactly when the accident happened to that car. So you don't know when from the 2014 to the 2020 timeframe, it might have been laid out there in the desert under non-covered conditions.
Right,
And this is
exactly.
where, so it was kind of surprising when I was talking, because I made numerous calls to Geico to see if I can you know get some reasoning into this, because I couldn't understand why that door would be a suitable replacement door. And I said, he goes, the person said, I can assure you, yours is a used car. This is a used door. Um, so there shouldn't be any problems. Plus, it's under closed in conditions. And so it's kind of like not damaged to the weather. And I'm like, how can you guarantee that to me when it's been outside in the junkyard and you don't know when that accident happened that caused it to be in the junkyard? And he said, I guarantee it. And I'm like,
What does
I'm
that,
thinking,
what does that mean exactly?
that's what I asked him, because I
Yeah.
said, how are you going to guarantee if there's any damages that happen to the right side of my vehicle that you're going to warranty any damages that might happen to my passenger? It's like, and I thought, no, Metro is the one who's warranting their work, and
Exactly.
that's based on proper repair
Right.
under their strict guidelines.
Right.
And so it just didn't make any sense that a car door that was out in the boonies with the sand and the wind and the snow, when for whatever duration, would be sufficient. And so when I was talking to Metro, they were saying, they're putting down the number of hours it would take to refurbish that new door, that used door, doesn't even require a whole lot of time. And he said that's not true, because what they're saying is, if you want to call it and using that door, you'd have to overhaul it, and the overhaul cost would exceed the cost estimate for using a new factory door.
It's,
And he was trying to make that notice to Metro, not to Metro, but to Geico, but they weren't listening to it. They go, you still have to bring it up. And the funny thing was, um, Metro was saying that they're not authorized to um, make assumptions on what is needed for the repair of my door. And that's what an
they're
auto
not,
shop does.
yeah, Geico's not, they're not the experts. The people that are doing the repair and guaranteeing the work and standing behind it, they're the experts. And so you were in a shop that was looking out for you. Let me ask another question, and I think it's interesting. One of the things that I am adamant about is for the property damage to use your own insurance company. Now, we never had a chance to talk way back when, before this all got started, but did you ever contact your insurance company over this matter and decide to use them?
Well, I considered talking to my insurance agent, and so I am, because I have PEMCO, and I've had them for over 40 years. And the thing is, I know that they're very careful on who they keep an insurer. So and luckily I've not had hardly any accidents that I had to make a claim on for
Mhm.
my car. And so when I contacted them, they said, my car was parked. So it seems like there's very little to refute that the other party is fully liable for your damages. And so she said, well, because of that, it might be your best bet is to just stay with them, um, because that way you don't have to pay the deductible that's on my policy. And I thought, well, that makes sense. but she goes, if there's any issues, you can always come back and put a claim through if you want to.
Mm-hmm.
And so, I thought, well, that makes sense to me. So I appreciated that. And so I proceeded, that's why I proceeded with making a claim against Geico.
Mm-hmm.
And so I have my own claim number and all that. And so they didn't, initially, they took all my information because I provided it before the other party was able to call in their claim. Um, but they contacted her, and she confirmed that she was trying to enter into the parking spot next to my car, and so it was seen as she was at fault. I mean, my car was sitting there, so it's not like I was moving at all.
So you took the initiative. You took the advice from your shop, and then you, instead of arguing anymore with Geico, you just decided to go ahead and pay the difference, have the correct parts put on your car.
Well, after it was clear to Metro that Geico was not willing to pay the difference, and they could not proceed without a decision made on whether to go with a salvage door and get that brought up, and delay longer,
Mm-hmm.
or let's just cut my losses, mitigate my losses, and just I so Jules sent me a message saying that he was going to talk to he's actually he forwarded a message to me that he was going to proceed with Geico, that he was going to proceed and that I would cover the cost of the door. And he wanted to make sure that I was aware of this and confirm it. And so on March 5th, I went ahead and confirmed, please proceed. You know, there was a mention earlier about COVID starting to kind of rear its head. And I was aware that, there's news about some people being under quarantine and all this stuff. So that kind of got me a little bit more like, I want to get my car done.
Mm-hmm.
And because I hadn't driven it for that long before it was hurt.
Mm-hmm.
So I just thought this was supposed to be only a 7-day repair. So I said, yes, I will cover it.
Yeah, you did the right thing. You did the right thing. And then so once that got completed, we were in contact because you heard about this concept called diminished value, or the fact that your vehicle wasn't worth really what it was anymore when you bought it just several weeks before. So, and we've already gone over this. You're not the expert on diminished value, but tell me, how did we help you with that?
You helped me immeasurably because, I didn't even know this existed, that you could possibly get any kind of reimbursement for something like this. And I tried, I wasn't sure how to approach this. And so I think a lot of it, I wouldn't have done it if it wasn't for the fact that they weren't willing to cover even just the door. But at the same time, my car was only three weeks old when it happened. And so I'm aware, as any prudent consumer, that when you buy a car brand new off the lot, it is your risk, whatever you do. I mean, I understand that. And that there's going to be depreciation just because you buy it and take it off the lot. I understand that. But I bought my car in a pre-owned certification process. So I knew it had no injuries. I was very careful. It was my choice to buy a used car, but that had been used lightly, if you will, so that I don't have to worry about, history of accidents or anything like that. It was my choice to do that because I didn't want to buy a brand new car. I don't think I needed that. But at the same time, I didn't want to lease a car because I just didn't want to deal with the payments. And so I thought it makes sense to buy a quality car that has the certified pre-owned system in place. So I was very careful. And so finding out that when I was bringing my my sad story to you, I wasn't sure whether or not it was going to even be of any value to have this looked at. And so I trusted you in letting me know whether or not we even have a case. And so when you did find that there is, some diminished value, I was so happy that I was surprised at the amount, but I was very happy, and I wanted to proceed, because I'm always for making sure that the people who do harm get, or the victims of people who get damages or harm gets justification. They get compensation correctly for whatever their loss is. And so I thought this would be something that I could participate in. And shoot, I had the time because I wasn't working because of the virus and stuff. So that's why I wanted to proceed.
And were we able to, did we do an initial review so you knew what it was it worth moving forward?
You did an appraisal based on the repairs that were done, and you asked for my purchase price of my vehicle, and I relied on your expertise and your professional history to give me the best estimate, and you were very willing to help me in how I contacted the insurance agent, the Geico, and how I should present my claim. And so I thought, I couldn't have done this without you. And plus the fact that you were there with me on the mitigation hearing. And we both heard that the defendant was woefully unprepared and not being supported by Geico. And I felt uncomfortable proceeding, because I had said, we should be filing a claim against Geico, but it's like, I understand why we're not, but at the same time, my frustration was against Geico and not necessarily the defendant, the person who did the damage. She was woefully unprepared, but I need to be more objective and present what I need to present. And you were instrumental in making sure that I try not to get over emotional and put in how it injured me emotionally. And so I'd say you were most instrumental.
It would be interesting for everybody to know. So we had court today, and the defendant, she didn't have any support from her insurance company at mediation. They didn't show up. They didn't do anything. She had no idea. I felt sorry for her because she really, in a way, she's almost a victim in this too.
Yes.
But so trial, it was set for trial because it wasn't completed mediation, and she didn't show up. So the way that the court works, if she doesn't show up, you ended up with a default judgment. Now, the courts had some technical difficulties today because they have to confirm that she was given proper notice. And as long as they're able to confirm that, it'll be interesting to see how the judge ends up ruling on your overall case. And so hopefully we'll have an answer on that within the next week or so. Thank you, Nancy. And it was a good day in court. She did some things wrong. She did a lot of things right. I still would have advised, if I had known early on, that she would have used her own insurance company. She wouldn't have had to be out of pocket for the door, for the parts, for the junkyard parts. I mean, stop and think about how ridiculous this is. I mean, this door was going to come up from Nevada. Who knows the condition? It's shipped up here. How is it handled? How is it transported? What is the cost to do that? When it gets here, and it's not any good, and you got to ship it back? Who's paying for the shipping it back? How about all the time that's gone by that Geico's paying for our rental? It's like, sometimes I don't understand what's going on. Are they just trying to make a statement to a body shop? Are they trying to make it difficult on them? Because if the body shop had not told Nancy that this is not the right thing for her car, she would have done it. Or if the shop hadn't even told her because they were the partner shop with Geico. Think about that one. What type of parts are put on your car? What type of work is done or not done because they're trying to save money for their insurance partner? I know this is controversial, and I know people are going to have a hard time with me saying stuff like that. I own one of the biggest shops in Tacoma for 25 years. I've been there, done that. I've seen what they do. The pressure they put on shops, it's just not right. So is there a bigger picture here? What's going on? To Nancy, it was a door, but it didn't make sense. I hope we're able to help you. And if you have a claim that you'd like us to review for you, send us the information, copy of the final repair bill, date of the accident, approximate mileage on your vehicle at the time. We'll review it and let you know what your claim's worth. And then you can decide if you'd like us to help you with your claim. All right. Well, another episode, another night. Let's remember, keep your mask on. We're still in this together. Wash your hands. Keep your distance. And from all of us at Harber Appraisal, I want to say thank you. I want to say Happy New Year again. And let's hang in there together. Let's not let the playground bully get over on you. It's been a good evening. Thank you for listening. It's been Crash Talk.